Acts of violence like Tulsa's recent shootings or the massacre in Aurora, Colorado may seem like they are on the rise. But in fact, most violent acts are not committed by strangers. More often than not, it's the devil you know. University of Oklahoma Associate Professor of Psychology Dr. Ryan Brown explains the cultural influence behind that violence in this excerpt from Oklahoma Forum.
I'm going to give you this argument that you've made about the shooting in Colorado, that if people in that theater had been armed, he probably wouldn't have killed as many people. But again, in these sorts of mass shooting incidences, could we perhaps cut down on the body count by having more people be armed? Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think a reasonable case can be made. But that's not where most people get killed. Most people get killed through everyday provocations, not by a stranger. Most people get killed by someone that they know. For a woman, as was said a moment ago, the most dangerous person for a woman is a spouse, a boyfriend, an ex-spouse, ex-boyfriend. For men, for children, there are different sources of risk. But far and away, the people who commit the most violence are men. And far and away, who they kill the most are other men. And the reason that we do that is, going back to what I said earlier, these fairly mundane, trivial altercations. Now, if you add guns to that mix, you've got the two perfect ingredients for a violent episode. And that's what we see in looking at regional differences, going back to that earlier point. When you combine regions that are dominated by a culture of honor with easy access to weapons, you see higher homicide rates. Some states have high rates of gun ownership and yet don't have particularly high rates of homicide. You need both of these factors. They go back to willingness to commit violence and ability to commit violence. And if we could undercut that ability through making it harder for people to access guns, that would help. In fact, if we could change culture, of course, that would help as well, but that's a lot harder to do.